Hey, what's up, Joe? Welcome to the Live a Great Story podcast.
Hey, thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Yeah, excited to chat. It got cold overnight here in Austin, and I put a jacket on, and I was like, you're in Colorado, so it's probably a little more chilly up there.
Yeah, and we have about 3 inches of snow out there right now. So, but it does get colder out here. I lived in Texas for 18 years, and I remember thinking I used to know what cold is, but yeah, it's not as bad as people say though. As I said, it's overrated here. We get it for short spurts, but I think let's see what we're at. I'm telling you, watch it. Yeah, we're about 11 degrees right now. So
Pretty chilly.
yeah.
Cool, man. Welcome onto the show. Excited to learn more about you and your story, because what's cool is that I started seeing all these orders for red things pop up, and like a bunch of shirts and everything. It was always red, and I was like, and I just it stuck out to me. And then I looked at, I think maybe your email address or something like that, and I was like, oh, Chick-fil-A, like that totally makes sense. And so at one point I wrote you a note, and then there was a very cool real world Live a Great Story connection that I'm sure we'll jump into pretty soon, which I'm excited to hear how that looked from your side. But real quick, just give me a quick rundown of your story.
Wow. I mean, shoot, that's a long story, but I guess, try to keep it short. But I mean, I'm a owner operator of two Chick-fil-A restaurants in Castle Rock, Colorado. Have just been in the hospitality business my whole life. Got my degree in hotel restaurant management. Just that's what I wanted to do, was I own my own business and be a leader. And so did that. Had a 17-year career in Dallas Fort Worth. That's where my Texas connection comes from. Doing corporate world restaurants before I decided at the kind of age of 40 that I guess that corporate world wasn't necessarily my story, and I wanted to do it on my own, be an entrepreneur. And Chick-fil-A offered me the opportunity to move out here to Colorado to do that. So to start a franchise, and that's 14 years ago. So I started off with one restaurant, and again, this little town of Castle Rock, and it's grown to two. 14 years ago, I think I had a total of 24 employees that we ran that one restaurant with. Today, as of this morning, I have 196 employees at two restaurants. So that in itself has just been a great story, growing from a small restaurant to two restaurants with close to 200 employees who are just awesome kids. 50% of my staff is under the age of 18. Most of them work in their first jobs, who are kind of just beginning their story and trying to figure out what that is. So it's a pleasure to run a business, and honor to be able to provide a great first job to just so many kids.
Wow, 50% are under 18. That's wild. That is so many kids.
It's a lot of kids. And people think, hey, Chick-fil-A just runs like clockwork. It's like, well, how do we do that with half our staff being under the age of 18 and it's their first job? So, but that's part of it. It just takes a lot of attention to detail and systems and processes, and creating leadership opportunities for them to grow. So that's one of the ways that, I just kind of fell in love with your story, with your company and everything there. So
How did you? So you worked at Chick-fil-A in Fort Worth, and then you decided.
No. I was corporate world in Fort Worth, so just corporate restaurants, and did that for a while. And just decided that, hey, if I was going to keep doing this, I wanted to try to, I guess, long story short, have a bigger purpose than making somebody's stock price go up. That's kind of what the corporate world was all about. What's our stock price today? And I thought, hey, this isn't what restaurants are about. Restaurants should be about serving people, serving community, creating leaders from within, providing opportunities. So many life lessons in the restaurant industry, especially the quick service restaurant industry. Just gets looked down upon, and it's maligned. And, it's like, why don't you get a real job, is what I hear a lot of, managers get told, or team members get told. But the life lessons and the opportunities that people can learn, I'm just a huge believer in, proponent of the things that the kids can come in and learn, that they can go forward with and take those skills with them for the rest of their life. There's just nothing quite like it. So I decided, if I'm going to keep doing it, the primary thing shouldn't be a stock price. It should be investing in people, customers, our team, and the community that we serve. That's what, the the root of the word restaurant means restoration if you look it up, and that's what a restaurant, that's what it should be. It should be a restoration for people. It's hectic and it's busy, but we got to make it that way. So yeah, this is kind of what led me to Chick-fil-A, and then obviously out here to Colorado for that reason.
I love that restoration. I've never heard that. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
How did you choose Chick-fil-A?
Well, it was a process. Honestly, I was looking at a little bit of everything. I started the process, and hey, I'm going to look at McDonald's. I'll look at Subway. I'll look at all the usual suspects, so to speak, of how can I get a franchise? I hate to say that I don't know if I chose Chick-fil-A or if it chose me. I guess that would be a talk we could have. But I was, I guess, what you would call a raving fan of Chick-fil-A. I had young kids at the time, and it was outside of where I was working, it was our favorite place to eat. My kids always wanted to go there. I was in full service restaurants, and Chick-fil-A would impact our sales anytime they opened up a restaurant. So somebody you wouldn't consider your competition coming in and hurting you was like, there's got to be something about this company. So there's a lot of things that attracted me to it. One is just again, their business model, them being closed on Sunday, them being a private company. Again, like I said, I was trying to get out of the corporate world, and all the other usual suspects of franchise were corporately owned, and trying to increase their stock price, and that was their main focus. So going with a company that was privately owned was a key thing. I think core values and what the corporate purpose of Chick-fil-A was, and then the financial. There's no financial hurdle to Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is looking for leaders and doesn't believe that somebody's financial status should be a roadblock to business ownership. So whereas a McDonald's will typically, a franchise there is going to cost you, you have to, before you can even apply, you have to have a $2 million net worth and $1 million liquid capital. And I didn't have a $2 million net worth, and I didn't have $1 million cash laid around the bank, as most people don't. So I don't know who gets into that other than people who are already financially well off. So my total financial investment in a Chick-fil-A was $5,000. So that's all it cost me. So again, they make it not a barrier. Now, they have a different business model where they own everything. They own the building, they own the land. And since I didn't buy the franchise, I still am in business for myself. I don't ever gain any equity in the business. So it's a kind of a handshake deal for me to run the business, and we split profits. But if I leave, we shake hands and we go our separate ways. So that was the main thing. It's just a couple of key things was core values, being a private business, and then, it not require, all it required of me was my time, my effort, and my leadership. It didn't require me to already have a lot of money to try to get into that.
I think you've said leadership at least like 5 times so far. So I definitely want to circle back to that. That's all right. Very interesting theme. But what was the interview process like? So it doesn't take a lot of money to get in, but that must be a serious, grilling and interest, like inspecting, they're not going to give this to just anybody.
No. And the right word you use is process. I don't know that I would call it an interview. It is a process. The average length of time for the process from the time you would fill out an application and start to engage Chick-fil-A until the time that you became an operator is between 2.5 and 3 years. So it's so basically a 3-year interview, if you want to call it that. And how many people say, hey, how many interviews did you have with Chick-fil-A? I'm like, I honestly, I don't recall. It was over 3 years, and it was phone calls. It was getting to meet people in person. It was interviews, on site. It was interviews in Atlanta. It was dinners. It was lunches. It was so it's a process, because that's what they kind of see it of, like, hey, we're going into business together, and our intent is to go into business forever. Closest thing to that would be like if you're entering into a marriage, like, hey, like if you're going to marry somebody, most people don't go on a first date and decide to get married tomorrow. Like this is not a one date thing to make that lifelong decision. So I say, they don't think you should approach business the same way. It's like, if we're going to be in partnership for the rest of our lives, let's get to know each other and make sure that we're both making the right decision. So it's a two-way process. Like, we want to make sure you know what you're getting into. And we want to make sure we know what we're getting into, because we plan to be partners forever.
Very cool.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a
very cool is what I would say too. It is. Very cool.
That's like a very unusual way to do
it's
business.
Unique. I mean, it is.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Chick-fil-A. We ate it a bunch growing up, and I still eat it, not as frequently, but whenever I'm like, oh, I want like some nuggets or some fries, and I'm like in a hurry, I always try to swing through a Chick-fil-A. So it's cool to kind of hear about the backside of it. And then, yeah, I think their values and their corporate environment, or from like what I can tell, is really holistic, and everybody's always happy, everybody's always cheerful, and so there's something very positive about it. And that starts at the top, but then probably drips all the way down through the owner of the franchise, and then the leadership and the management.
Yeah, it does. That's what I said. That's what they're looking for. That's what they're trying to get to know someone as a leader. And then whoever that guy or gal is, that they're the leader. That's what they trust. The fact that that's what you're going to, that's the environment that you're going to create. I said in the restaurant. And when you sign up for Chick-fil-A, you sign up for one. That's the other difference too. The difference is that it's a one restaurant deal. That's what I signed up for. That's all I plan to have, for the rest of my life. And one Chick-fil-A is plenty as far as the volume of business goes. We're blessed here to have a unique opportunity to have a second restaurant just because of the success that we've had in Castle Rock and limitations of one restaurant, right place, right time. We have a great team, so we're blessed to have two. It's not the norm, but then you say when you sign up for. It's also unique that you're not signing up. You don't get a territory. You don't get a region or a county. I don't own rights. It's like you get your restaurant, and what we need you to do is we need you to run it, and we need you to live in that community, and kind of be all in on what you're doing.
Yeah, seems cool. How many people do you think? So is there like a network of Chick-fil-A owners, so you kind of know people across the country?
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to like events together and talking strategy and things like that?
Yeah, I would say we do one major event every year in February where the whole company gets together. We do regional events. So we do a regional event once a year, usually at the end of the year, October, for planning for the next year. And then more of a get-together family reunion in February. But that's really only the two company events. But other than that, yeah, operators, I go visit operators all the time. I visit operators in Texas. I visit operators in California and Utah. And that's just because, these guys and girls that are running restaurants, we're the only ones that know each other, what we're going through. It's great to talk to another leader who knows exactly what you're going through and exactly what you're dealing with, so that you can collaborate and you can be creative and you can share ideas. So the corporate office is 100% supportive. So that's what they do with those meetings. Is they support us for planning. But the best thing is just picking up the phone and calling another operator. What are you struggling with today? Here's what I'm struggling with today. Hey, what's going well? Why is it going well? What'd you do? And just learn, because we're all growing through all of this together. So there's just no better substitute so we're a very close-knit community, but it's because we lean on each other, and we trust each other's, opinions. And we just study each other. If somebody has success in something, you're like, hey, I got to copy that, right? So, hey, what did you do? Okay, well, show me how you did that, because I want to get better too. So, it's a great tight-knit community. It's a kind of a big company, but it's a small family, and we're all running small family businesses. And that's what Dan Cathy, who's our CEO, used to say, hey, we're a really large family business made up of 2,000 small family businesses. So it's a tight network.
Really like that. Great. Once again, just continues to contribute to the energy and the connection and what you feel when you come up to there as a customer and order. You can feel that from a customer experience. What does your day-to-day look like? Like, how does that, so I obviously run my business, and I am around a lot of entrepreneurs and kind of on a wide spectrum of industries, and there's brick and mortar, and there's e-commerce, and digital businesses, but I don't know any people that run a franchise. And so I'll just be curious, like, how does that look, and then how do you think that that's kind of different from maybe a non-franchise model, or like a sole owner / like person that maybe built their own thing versus having like a structure to fit into?
Well, a lot of it depends on just obviously the size of the business. I mean, when the business, my day looks very different than it did, you know, 10 years ago, 14 years ago, taking over, a restaurant that was lower in sales. I said there was, 24 on the staff, including my wife. And so she worked register from, 8 to 2:30. She'd drop off the kids at school. She'd come, she would work register. 2:30, she'd be off, so she'd go pick up the kids at school. For the first 6 to 9 months or a year, I probably worked, 6 days a week, and some days open to close. You're working 15, 16-hour days. That's what you do as a business owner, entrepreneur, until you build the business. And then as the business builds, the challenge is to grow as a leader, and just, the old adage of, hey, as the business grows, I've got to spend more time working on the business than in the business. So it's a gradual process of pulling back and pulling up and trying to put people into place. So, you fast forward all the way to today, like I'm not running a shift. I'm the last person on earth. If you came into my restaurant, you wouldn't want me trying to ring you up on the register, because I might not know my way around it anymore. But that's not my role. Now I can still go cook. I can run food. I can do a lot of other things in the restaurant. But we have people who are hired that are just way better, way faster, more efficient at doing those things than I am. And my days or my week. So I kind of look at my schedule in terms of weeks now instead of hours or days. So it's just a matter of I try to put anchors in place. So some days, Mondays are top tier leadership meetings, along with a marketing strategy and administrative strategy meeting. And then I go through goal setting for a good part of the day, weekly goal setting with managers in the restaurant. So that's kind of what my role is now: goal setting, action step planning with managers to help the GMs of the restaurant run their restaurants. Tuesdays will be more some maintenance meetings and another marketing meeting. So I kind of put anchors to certain days, and then part of the week I leave open and flexible, because we're a restaurant and stuff happens. So busy days and things coming, breaking down. And then part of it is I love being in the restaurant, so I try to make sure I just schedule intentional time, and it's just a block. And it's my block is I just kind of call it be there, like 11 to 2 on Thursday. I'm just going to go in the restaurant. I'm just going to be there. And that's just me being me, and hey, being in the moment. And if a team member's having a tough day, I can have a conversation. If we have large parties, I can help. I can help cook. I can help put something up. I can hold the front door, talk to guests, connect. And that's just to make sure. I said it is a community restaurant. We're there to serve. So it's just a matter of scheduling intentional time to serve. So I kind of start my week off by putting the blocks or non-negotiables in place of kind of the meetings and important goal setting that we have to have, and updates on the business. And then the rest of the week, being back and forth between the restaurant to maintain relationships.
Yeah, it makes sense how that changes and is very dynamic, but then it has also evolved over the years. And, it was cool to hear that your wife was behind the register and, started there. So you've kind of played wore many of the hats in the business all along. And I think that's what happens with all business owners. It's like you start kind of in the beginning and you grow, and like you said, there's the stepping back of the responsibilities and the ownership of working on the business, not necessarily in the business.
It's just so we can provide opportunities for people in the business. Like the people who are in the business, that's my responsibility, to make sure that the business keeps growing and it stays healthy.
So you have mentioned leadership a bunch, and has that been always something that you've, like, from early on? You said you went to school for hospitality management, and so you kind of have always, like, even let's say back to middle school, high school, is this something that you felt like a calling towards, or something that you cultivated, or how's that evolved? How's your leadership propensity for leadership evolved over time?
No, all the way back to middle school, high school. We moved around when I was a kid, and I think the final move we did, I was probably in 5th, 6th grade, and like a lot of kids, when you move, it was kind of traumatic, and you kind of go into a shell. So I didn't have trouble, but I was more quiet and reserved. Really didn't do a lot, and it wasn't until I didn't get confidence in myself. You can't tell I'm sitting down, but I'm 6'6", and it wasn't until I was a junior in high school when all of a sudden I grew, and the coach was like, "Hey, you're going to come to basketball practice." Like, I don't play basketball. Like, you do now. Like, we're telling you, you play basketball. And that was one thing. And then I did it. And then I don't know, I guess I was always just afraid and didn't have confidence in myself. And then when I started playing basketball, it's like, okay, I learned this. I learned the relationship between putting effort in and getting a result. And like, I don't know how to play basketball, but if I practice, I get better. And if I get better, I can help other people. And then I have teammates, and then bonds start. And I have an opportunity to be an influence, even if that's just by being in a good mood and helping somebody when they're down. And that was the first thing that kind of taught me about being on a team. And I just loved being on a team. I thought teamwork was just great. It brought people together we weren't friends outside of it, but all of a sudden we're in the same locker room and everything, and we have the same uniform on. And so it doesn't matter who your mom or dad is, or brother, sister, or what kind of car you drive, or anything. It's like, we're on the same team, and that's the only thing that matters. And so I think it wasn't necessarily leadership that got me going. It was just this idea of teamwork and people being on a team, and then looking up to my coach. And how do you, when teams come together, nothing else seemed to matter. And it was a great place to learn that, because, high school sometimes is the worst. It's cliques, and everybody notices what kind of shoes you wear and who's friends with who. But the team environment just really kind of changed my life, I guess, as far as that goes. And then when I got to college, I tried to do, I think I was trying to be accounting. I had no idea what I wanted to do. Like 85% of kids who go to college, I have no clue what I want to do. I'll get an accounting degree because it's safe. And everybody needs accountants. My dad was an accountant. I could do that. And again, another moment that kind of changed for me was I remember going in after my first or second semester to a advisor who was trying to help me pick my classes for next year. And I remember she picked up a pad and she said, "Oh, okay, you're student 147321." I go, "No, I'm Joe. Like, what? You're deciding my future and my classes, and you're calling me a number. Like, this isn't going to work." And luckily, at the time, I was at Oklahoma State University back in the 80s, and they had a hotel restaurant program. And everybody's got a hotel restaurant program now. But when you're as old as me, you remember back in the 80s, they were only one of maybe 6 schools in the entire nation that had a hotel. It was not normal. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go over there and check that out. And I did. And I walked in the door, and they said, "Hey, what's your name? What do we let's tell us your story. Let's get to know you. Here's how you can impact other people. Hey, don't join right away. Why don't you just take a couple classes, come back, talk to us, see if you like it, see if it's a good fit." And it was like, okay, this is right back to that whole team environment. And then just realizing, hey, if I don't know and I didn't know if I wanted to do accounting or marketing or business or be a coach or be a teacher or be a doctor or be a psychiatrist. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like, man, the restaurant business, I think I could do all of that every day. Like, I could be in marketing and advertising, and I could be in accounting, and I could be a leader, and I can be a teacher, and I can be a coach, and I can be in leadership. It was like, I don't have to pick, like, which degree do I want? I'm going to pick this degree, and then I can do everything I want to do all in one day. So that's kind of the big story. I hope that answers the question. But that was just, that was the kind of the things that led me to leadership. And then again, within that, I think that, again, the things I loved about the restaurant business was the same thing I found in basketball, was that it didn't matter where you went to school. It didn't matter what degree you had. Sometimes it didn't necessarily matter how smart you were. It was like, in the restaurant business, you can be successful through grit, hard work, and then ingenuity and just outworking and then having a great attitude. I mean, I've never seen anything more true than in the restaurant business than when people have that quote, hey, attitude determines your altitude. Attitude might not make you the best rocket scientist or the best NFL player, but if you walk into a restaurant or a customer service business, you can out-attitude people forever. And anybody can wake up and make that choice. And that's what I loved, is just being able to work with kids to say, and I don't know a lot of other businesses, even today in 2022, I don't know a lot of other businesses or industries where you could literally walk into that business, like as in a restaurant, start off at the lowest point. I could be hired as a dishwasher. I could be hired as a register person. And I could literally work my way to being the general manager of that business within several years through nothing other than hard work, attitude, dedication. And so that's one of the things I just love about this business, is that anybody can succeed no matter where you're from. And it's just based on, hey, what your attitude is and the amount of effort that you put into it.
So much good stuff in there. And you talking about sports and that experience in sports, totally just helped me realize like a lot of that's the same stuff that you talked about of like playing with people and, being on the court together or the field and helping each other and encouraging. And I never really pieced it that clearly together or thought about it in that quite way, but I for sure resonate with that. And I've been playing sports since I could walk basically. And so all the different types of sports and, love all things athletic. And, I would say that a lot of what I would probably like consider my leadership and my leadership comes from, from the sports, from the field, from the court. And, that's cool. I hadn't thought about it. So I appreciate you sharing that. And then secondarily, I also almost went to, hospitality management school when I was looking at what I wanted to do with my career. And this is back like after high school. I didn't go to college, didn't really want to go to college. But when I was looking at what are my options and what could I do? What am I interested in? That was one thing that I was really, stuck out. And, I went to the Four Seasons and talked to people at the Four Seasons. And I, was researching and reading about different, entrepreneurs in the hotel management space. I always wanted my own like micro hotel, like boutique type hotel. And so almost went that route. I ended up not really going to college. And so took a different route, but then worked at a really cool bar in San Diego that was, top, they were an award-winning, like best bar in the country, craft cocktail bar, and learned so much there too as, from leadership and teamwork and, putting in the work and attitude and all that stuff. So very parallel journeys, which is cool to hear you talk about it because it helps me kind of reflect on some of my experiences to kind of better understand a little bit more of my journey.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool to hear.
Yeah. It's stuff sometimes we don't like reflect or, we think about, like I think about stuff pretty frequently about like my journey and my story and then reflecting on it so much and then telling that story so often, people ask me all the time, like, what does Live a Great Story? And I have kind of, like a curated, fine-tuned portrayal of that, but then every once in a while, and so that's like the path that gets, the walked on the most, but there's a lot of other paths in my journey. And so to kind of look back on it and like, oh yeah, like it wasn't just this one direction that happened. Like there was a lot of back and forth and, this happened over here and this happened over there. And so I always like try to think, I like exploring those areas that maybe aren't as explored or aren't thought about as much. So this has been cool. I like it.
Yeah, enjoy it.
What, so you've been living in this city now and have worked with so many kids. I mean, probably hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of youth now. How does that look over time? And like, do people come back into the Chick-fil-A and like, like they go off to college or they move away and they come back home and come say hi? And like, how do you keep in touch with student or workers, employees, and how does that look?
Yeah, as best I can. I said it's because it's a large group of people. I mean, like for this year we have 200 employees. We have a turnover rate of about 65% per year, which sounds high to some people, but for quick service restaurants, it's astronomically low. I mean, I think the average for the QSR industry is like 250 to 300% turnover. So I've got 65% turnover, most of which is, again, most of our kids are under the age of 18. So they graduate and they go off to school or they go do other things. So it's a large number of people, probably 70 people a year, sometimes more. So you add that up over 14 years, and it's like I have 1,000 people who are no longer working for me. So the ones who, I'll stay in touch with anybody that I can, and someone else that reciprocates, that stays in touch. We have kids that graduate high school, go off to college, and come back for 4 years and work Christmas breaks and summer breaks. Some who graduated college and came back and started their career in management. So I've got three managers between the two stores who probably started with me when they were 16 and they're 22, 24 now, and say, hey, I worked for you for 7 years. It's been off and on, kind of like puzzle pieces is the times I've worked together. But it is, and I think that one of the things that I think helps us or helps me is that I think a lot of businesses think that, like, hey, when I hire somebody or we bring employees in, like, you're thinking, okay, like I'm done, like I've hired this person and they're going to be here forever or they're going to be here. But, our approach is we realize that, hey, we're a first job for a lot of people. And our job is to prepare kids and then to launch them into something else. Like sometimes I feel like I'm a college football coach or a college basketball coach. Like we've got kids for 2 years or 4 years. They're not going to be here forever. So my responsibility is to pour into them, develop them and coach them. And hey, you need to be a better person when you leave here than when you came in. And I think when you start that off, that mentality, it just changes your approach to leadership. It's not like, hey, I'm not here to be a leader or a boss because, I hired you and please don't ever quit, or I think you're just going to be here forever. So I think the leadership mentality changes when you realize I've got a limited amount of time with this person. And because of that, it's got to count. Like days matter, so.
Do you have structure for that? Like, over
Yep.
the years, you've kind of formulated like how, like a curriculum for it to grow and develop high school kids.
Yep. Yeah, I don't have a picture or a poster here, but if you walked into the restaurant, right? Matter of fact, you walk into either restaurant, right behind the manager station counter, there's a poster there. And it's called the Growth Roadmap. So anybody, whether they're working for us or not working for us, says, hey, if you come in here as a team member, there's ways that some people just want to come in. Some kids just like, hey, I just want to learn how to budget and manage my time. And that's great. If that's what they want to do, that's what they need to get out of it. We'll help you get that out of it. So I may not want to be anything more than a team member because I'm too busy outside of work, but I do want to have a great job, be part of a team. I want to contribute. I want to make some money, but I have other things going on. If somebody does want to learn leadership, then we have a very specific growth roadmap that how can you go from being a team member to a team leader, to an area leader, to an assistant manager, to a manager. And it's not time-based, it's, effort skill-based, and then evaluation-based and performance-based. That's right there from, like I said, from day one, we'll tell somebody, hey, this is exactly what you have to do to work your way up so that everybody's all on the same page. And again, it's not hidden. It's not some secret little thing, that people have, like, hey, I don't know how how do I get to be a manager? Is it who you know? And do we have favorites and that kind of stuff? It's like as soon as you walk in the restaurant, it's front and center behind the front counter that just tells everybody this is exactly where we are. And when everybody's on the same page, it goes back to that teamwork thing. Hey, we're all on the same page and we all know what we're trying to do. We all know what the goal is. It just makes communication and trust a lot easier and a lot better.
Did you develop that or yeah?
Yes, but it kind of came from all those phone calls and things I was telling you about with other operators. Like, hey, what are you doing? So do I develop it? I wouldn't say I developed it. I would say I pieced it together. It's kind of like building a puzzle. Like, hey, man, John over here is doing a great job, and Jenna is doing a great job, and Bonnie's doing a great job with this, and Bill, and like, hey, like, and you kind of put it together, and so that it fits maybe who my personality and what our culture is. But it's begged, borrowed, and stolen, I guess, from everybody. But it's a lot easier to take something and modify it and then have it fit than to try to build. Yeah, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. Somebody's smarter than me out there, and if I can borrow that idea from them, I'm 100% going to do that.
Yeah, most definitely. Little puzzle pieces of all the different elements, and then you make your own and start building that. That's so. What would be? You've probably dealt and interacted and helped a lot of young people kind of find some direction or some meaning or some purpose. What do you think that are some of the key cornerstone thoughts or questions or actions that help people who might not know what they're looking for kind of start walking down kind of a path of figuring that out?
Yeah. Well, I think our whole business is that way. The model's that way. And that's what we do. I mean, like I said, you may not, most people don't know what they want to do. And I think what's kind of where part of the Live a Great Story, connection for us came from is how we tell that to our team. It's like, that's what you do. Like you have to walk down that path. You have to start living it, and doing things. And then that's why we have that leadership structure. It's like, hey, if you come in and the more you get involved, and you may not want to be completely involved in the restaurant, but the more you do get involved, the more you're going to learn. You may find out that I became a trainer and I really love training people. What about training people did you like? Did I like putting together lesson plans, or did I like the one-on-one interaction? Maybe there's something there for you to pursue. Maybe it's a teaching, coaching type of career that you might want to look into or you're thinking about. Maybe I liked leading people. Maybe it was more the management. Maybe I liked the numbers part of it. I liked really doing inventory, and I liked trying to figure out what our food costs was and how we could reduce our labor costs. And we started talking about productivity. And there's so many things, again, in any entrepreneur's business that you could get more involved in those facets of business, and you could figure those things out. Not only just with the connections with customers that you have coming in. So I think part of it is like, hey, you have to start doing. Like you're not going to figure out what you want to do by sitting home and playing video games all day, or by not being engaged. And sometimes it's a process of elimination. You may come in here and go, I really don't like doing that. Okay, well, mark that off your list then, right? Like I go through a process of elimination and kind of start scaling things down as far as what we get involved in. And the other thing we tell them is that, and a big, I guess, thing I don't know if I would call it a selling point, but it's something that's an anchor for me is there are certain skills, in life that just are cross-functional, and they're just foundational to whatever you're going to do. And we can teach some of those, like being able to look somebody in the face, eye to eye, and have a conversation and smile and relate to somebody. And then learning how do systems and processes. So we go back to, again, Truett Cathy used to say it all the time, like, hey, we're not in the chicken business, we're in the people business. It's like, and that's what I tell people, it doesn't matter what business we're in. Yeah, we happen to be selling chicken sandwiches, but what you really want to be here is to learn how do we do that. Like I do similar things to, I'm sure I could go have a conversation with a basketball coach or the head coach of the Denver Broncos or the Dallas Cowboys, and there's going to be leadership similarities. Like leadership is just, in my mind, like the world just needs more leaders. And I don't necessarily mean like, hey, you have to go out and be a leader of General Electric, or I got to be a leader at Ford Motor Company, or I got to be president of the United States. We just need leaders. Like, at first I got to be a leader of my friends and family. That's the first place I'm a leader, right? Then if I can be a leader in my neighborhood, or a leader in my class, or a leader in my school, then a leader in the business that I'm in, whether that business is 6 people or 3,000 people. I said the world just needs leaders, just to kind of keep things moving forward. And I can be a leader in thought, in knowledge, in attitude, and how we treat people. So if you're going to come to Chick-fil-A, you can learn leadership skills. And if you learn leadership skills, every business, every community needs that. And that's going to become a sellable, marketable, valuable skill. And leadership is, again, some of us do have innate abilities to be leaders. The rest of me, like, I wasn't a leader until I got through college. But, you can learn it, right? And there's more books and things written on leadership than any other topic, I think, on the planet. So it's definitely things that it's a lifelong journey. And when you get involved in that, and you're learning leadership. So yeah, I'm not trying to teach people how to be great restaurant managers. I'm not trying to teach people how to be great chicken cooks. It's like, we're just using that as the tools that we have to learn leadership and organization, how to deal with conflict, how to serve other people. And you're going to use that whether you're a doctor, lawyer, teacher, fireman, basketball coach, you own your own business. I mean, you're going to use all of those skills. And a lot of times those are skills that don't get taught in school, right? The things that get taught in school is all the book stuff and all the knowledge. But, hey, we're going to teach you all the critically important stuff that you put those two together, then, magic can happen.
Yeah, I think kind of one of the things I heard you say was, even if you don't know what you're doing, you're not going to figure it out. Just like sitting there, you got to start taking action, and then the action builds into momentum. And so as you don't have, you could go this way, you could go that way. Just start going, and you'll start figuring it out and learning more about yourself and experiencing more about the world. and then through that kind of compounding and the journey, the momentum, things start falling into place a little better. So definitely like people that, you know, a part of Live a Great Story. It's so cool that we have such a community of people of so many walks of life and so many life experiences happening now, and then also in the past, and, you know, trajectories, or, you know, where people are going, and you know, part of people that are living a great story feel stuck, they feel uncertain, they don't know, you know, they want to live a great story, they want to make some important life changes, they want to, you know, switch things up, but they don't know where to start. And I think you kind of nailed it. Like, just start.
Just start. Yeah, just start. And again, even hey, I didn't necessarily figure anything out from this point until this same point next year, but at least along the way, wow, I learned leadership, and I learned how to communicate better, and I learned what systems and processes look like, and I learned how these businesses. I mean, like, you know, and then I made connections. That's, again, those are skills that. Again, to me, are just invaluable no matter what it is that you're going to do. So it's like, hey, while you're figuring that out, go ahead and pick all this other stuff up along the way. Like, I'm not sure where I'm going, but I'm going to be building this tool belt while I get there. So it's like, 'cause sometimes people get there like, okay, now I figured out what I want to do, but I don't have any of the skills. Then I've got to go back and gain those skills. Like, yeah, but if I've been gaining all those skills, it's like, that's what I tell me. Sometimes it's like building. Like, hey, you're going to be building something at the end of a journey. I'm not going to tell you what you're going to build. Maybe you're building a car. Maybe you're building a house. Maybe you're building a bridge. You don't know. But along the way, what you should be doing then is pick up every type of tool you can, so that when I get there, no matter what type of building I'm trying to build, I've got all the tools for it. I had no idea I was going to need these until I got there, but that's part of the journey, right? Like, I'm picking all these things up so that when I get there, I'm ready. And it's like a favorite quote of mine, and I know it gets attributed to Mike Krzyzewski, a basketball coach from Duke. It's probably not necessarily his, but it's like, you know, it's far better to be prepared for an opportunity that doesn't come, right, than to have an opportunity come and not be prepared. And so that's what we talk about. That's what, again, for us, Live a Great Story and coming in the restaurant. Like, I know you don't know what you want to do, but come in here and just start learning, and have faith that then things are going to work out. And then when you get there, at least I'll have, you know, some of these tools that I didn't have before. That, again, and maybe it's only the launching pad to the next step. We might not be the launching pad to the end destination, but we may be point A, and we may just get you to point B. Well, that's good. You got to get to point B before you get to point C, right? Like, I've got to keep doing that. So that's part of the thought. It's just like, learn, move forward, and use the data. Like I said, learn whatever skills. I agree. You may not want to be ringing on a register and serving chicken for the rest of your life. I get that. But there's a lot of things to learn, whether you're selling chicken or selling tires, or, you know, throwing newspapers, or whatever it is you're doing. If you're into it, you can learn.
How cool to be gifting young people that idea so early, because so many people, especially now, like, it's like, oh, I don't know what I want to do with my life. I don't know, you know, what am I going to go to college for? You know, I don't, what the future, all this uncertainty, but to really, like, help teenagers, like, that's fine. And, like, not only just telling them that, but showing them that. And then you're like, you know, you come in here at 16 or 17 and you're like, that's cool. You don't know what you want to do? That's awesome. Like, but, like, start this, do this. And then they're like, then it's like a showing of, like, oh, this is actually going to work out. Like, this is not just like a theory of, like, oh, you don't know what you want to do? Just start. And it's like, okay, cool. That's a great idea. But, like, how does that actually happen? And you're like, no, like, here's how that happens. And to be able to do that with so many, you know, young, you know, teenagers and you know, people of all ages, I'm sure, but that like hands-on experience for them to be, and then that, like, lasts forever, because they're like, oh, I don't know what I want to do after college. I don't know what I want to do when I left this job. I don't know what I want to do, you know, after whatever happens, any sort of life circumstance that gets thrown people's way. They're like, oh yeah, I've been here before. I've been doing this for, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've done this. Last time I didn't know what to do. What did I do? I just started doing something, and it worked out. And like I said, not only is it do we tell the teenagers, do I tell the kids, like, it's okay to feel that way? It's like, it's actually more normal to feel that way than it is. I said, it's rarer it's much more rare for that 17, 18-year-old to go, I know exactly what I want to do. Like, I want to be a highly specialized foot doctor for, like, who knows that? Like, most people don't. There are more of us at 17, 18, even into our 20s who are like, I'm just not really sure. That's actually more normal, but we don't like to say that, and we don't want to feel that. You think you're abnormal, so we don't talk about it. So it's like, no, like dude, celebrate not knowing what you want to do, and celebrate the journey and figure that out.
So cool. This conversation has been, I think, really helpful. Will be really helpful for so many people in this position, right? And who are listening to this and they're like, I don't know what I want to do, or I'm stuck, or I'm uncertain of like where this can go. It's like, it's really cool that, you can do this in your store, right? In your restaurant. And then you can also do this like here right now, and to be able to share kind of this inspiration and this, encouragement and wisdom and leadership through this screen right now. Like, I just know that people listening to this are going to be really inspired to go out and be able to make, better decisions in their life and better handle, obstacles or uncertainty. So I really appreciate you sharing this, and definitely look forward to, as people listen to this, and if you're listening to this out in the world, like, let me know how this inspired you to keep, make some changes in your life, because I'm very curious on the around the world, or like the circular element of Live a Great Story and how things come full circle, right? So if you are listening to this, let me know. And along those lines of the small world, like full circle, Live a Great Story, you were going on a trip to Africa, and a mission trip, and you ran into somebody else. So I got a photo. Actually, I'll let you tell the story, then I'll kind of circle back about how it happened. But yeah, tell me about your trip to Rwanda, I think.
Yeah, we went to Rwanda. Yeah, my wife and I and a group of operators from Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A has a part of the company called Life Shape, and that's what they do. They partner with mission groups all over the world in about 42 countries, and probably been close to 7,000. Individual mission trips that people have gone on over the past 14 years. And so Rwanda is one of those countries that we were going to just to teach business principles and leadership. I happened to, and I always carry a Live a Great Story in my backpack, and I have stickers with it. And so again, because it's a great conversation, and for me, it's just inspiration. It's just a reminder for me to do that, and have one of your little coins I just keep in my pocket every day. It's just that little thumb thing for me to remind myself of stuff. And yeah, right in the seat in front of us, I just noticed a gal had her phone, and she pulled it out. And when she turned it around, I saw she had a Live a Great Story on the back of her phone. And so I kind of just joked, and I just kind of stuck this between the seats, and I said, your sticker's kind of small. Do you need a bigger one? And then she was like, and of course, we were boarding a plane in Amsterdam going to Rwanda. So yeah, you're like, I'm like, what are the odds of, like, we're already halfway around the world going to Africa, and how the two of us end up sitting behind each other, I have, no idea. But that was it. It's like, hey, I'm trying to practice what I preach, I guess, for my team. It's like, we're not going on vacation. No, when my wife and I are going to commit, and we appreciate, because you all, hey, every time that you all sell a chicken sandwich, like, part of that profit, Chick-fil-A takes it, and they pay for me to go on a mission trip. Like, Chick-fil-A's they're not buying things and using their money to put in the bank account. I mean, the owners of Chick-fil-A, the family's like, we're going to, if you'll give us the time, we will spend the money for you to go to Rwanda for 9 days so that you can help educate people who are looking to learn about leadership, that don't have the same opportunities that we have in this country. And then to give back. We're going to invest our money in you to go give back. And so we do that all year. So we're looking to go back in April again this year to kind of continue that journey. So that was just a story. And her family were there with their church group, and they were headed to Rwanda for a different purpose, again, for so some church activities. But it's just weird coming from different parts of the country, similar reasons, but different reasons on different paths. And you bump into each other, and at an intersection halfway around the world. And now we're sharing the story about, hey, you're trying to live a great story, I'm trying to live a great story, and you probably never even knew that. That's got to give you a big smile. It's like, wow, people are out there, doing it. And so it was I kind of get goosebumps thinking it was just a really cool moment that like, well, I can't believe, what are the odds of us you're sitting behind each other on this plane with 400 people on it in Europe, getting ready to go to Africa. Yet here we are talking about, we're doing it like, hey, we're just trying to live a great story and we want to be rolling shit there. She and her husband were trying to be role models for their kids. Like, we're going to give back to the world. And I'm trying to be role models for my team members so I can come back and share with them that, hey, dude, this is not about, hey, running a business and making as much money as possible. It's like, hey, we're trying to be profitable, but part of that profit's got to be so that we can benefit other people.
Wow, that is so wild that I didn't even realize that you were right behind each other. That's
right behind each other.
Slid the stickers.
Yeah, I stuck it up inside. I'm like right between the seat, going, your sticker's not big enough.
So, that couple, I can't remember if I had just had a conversation with them or shortly after that had a conversation.
No, I think just before she said that, because she said, we just had a conversation with Z. I'm going to tell him all about this. And I was like, okay, obviously like you said, you put a note and we've via email, hey, well, Joe, why are you ordering this type of stuff? Just, not necessarily transactional, but not quite relational like that. But she's like, we were talking this and he knows my story and I'm going to send him a picture right now. So I was like, well, that's cool.
So cool. Yeah. They had, I can't remember if that was either the first or the second podcast that I recorded, but one of the very first ones that I did. And Robin and her husband, and they told me an amazing story about a member of their church and, the impact that this guy had. And then, yeah, like right after that, I get this, photo from y'all on a plane holding up the stickers. And I was like, wow, like small world.
Yeah. Big world, small world, right? Yeah.
In Amsterdam, across the world.
Yeah. Boarding a plane to go to Africa. So, yeah.
Wow. Super cool. Well, this has been a great chat, Joe. I appreciate, you coming on here. And one last question before we send this off. What does live a great story mean to you?
Okay, here's what live a great story means to me. I'm glad you asked the question because I was thinking about that before we got on. And there's another quote that I love. And again, it goes back to us telling these kids to, hey, like just work on something. And you probably heard the quote before too, which is that the man who loves the man who loves walking walks further than the man who loves the destination. And that's kind of where that live a great story came up, because I think sometimes too, it's like we tell people, hey, like fall in love with the journey. Don't try to, and that's what people do. And a lot of kids look at me and go, I want to be you someday. I want to be a business owner. I want to be a leader. But like, Joe, you're 55 and I'm 18 and I can't see how to get there. There's too big of a gap. I don't even know what I want to do next year, let alone like, I know I want to be like you, or I want to do in a similar position. I just don't know how to get there. And it's like, forget about the destination. And they say, hey, well, when did you choose you wanted to be an operator for Chick-fil-A? Like, I never chose it. That's why back to the first question you asked me. It's more like it chose me. It's like I just kept trying to do my best and moving forward and gaining skills. And then when Chick-fil-A and I met up, oh, look at all these skills and talents and stuff I did. Like, and they go, you're the right person for this. But had I not been building for the previous 20 years, and if I would have been unprepared for that, I never would have had the opportunity. So, and I think that it means, to me, is like, it's that quote, but I think sometimes when you say fall in love with the journey, I think sometimes people can say, well, I'm on this journey and I can kind of be this like inactive passenger. Like, you can be on a journey. Somebody can be taking you along for the ride. And for me, live a great story, just it puts the ownership back for me onto the person, which is what we're really trying to teach. Like, I do want you to love the journey, but what I want you to do is I want you to live a great story, because the only way to live a great story is you have to write it. You have to be active in your story. You can be passive on a journey. I could just be on a boat or on a plane and I don't know where it's going. And I can still not know where I'm going, but I can be the one driving. Like, and so that's what it means to me. It's like, live a great story is that quote of, hey, don't focus on the destination, focus on the journey because it's so much better, but just be an active participant in it. And then you're going to get so much more out of it when you focus on it that way. So to me, live a great story just takes that quote like one step further. And it assigns this personal responsibility and accountability and power that the other one just kind of misses a little bit. I hope that makes sense, but that's it for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. And Yeah, no doubt this will inspire a lot of people to do exactly that and just, fall in love with walking and see where the walking takes you. So thank you so much for coming on here. This has been a very inspiring way to start the day. This is like first thing in the morning. So this is definitely the earliest podcast I've had. And so I appreciate you coming on here. And you're in Castle Rock, Colorado. Is that where you're at?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
so
about a half hour south of Denver.
Okay, so I know we have a lot of people in Colorado, so if you're ever in Castle Rock, go to the Chick-fil-A, go say hi to Joe, and take a Live a Great Story photo.
Yeah, then we'll do it. I'll have it on me.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe.
My pleasure.